Welcome to RotoGrinders Today. I'm Jordan Cooper, a.k.a. BlenderHD, BlenderHD. You're going to follow me on Twitter. And it's Friday, August 2nd. And I'm alone here. I'm alone here. And I'll be taking a look at the UFC Abu Dhabi card tomorrow. It's noon tomorrow. It's an early one. Make sure you get up early. It's not normally, 5, 6 o'clock at night Eastern time. It is a noon card. So everything will be done. You get to go out and have some fun in the evening after the MMA card. So I'll be breaking down it's 13 fights. I believe all 13 fights are on. So it should be a-okay. Of course, you never know. So you gotta check in tomorrow. Make sure that no fight has been scratched. But give me that thumbs up button on your way in the door. Thummy thumbs, how much I like the thummy thumbs. Hit the subscribe button if you're new here. Hit the notification bell to know when we go live on the channel. If you're here for baseball, Grinders Live, 5 p.m. Eastern, followed by Crunch Time. I know there's a bunch of weather stuff today. There's chance of rain in a bunch of places, so you definitely have to tune in to Crunch Time with Kevin Roth for the old weather update. And it's also Freebie Friday. So I don't really do a breakdown of the fights because I'm not an MMA expert. I'm a DFS expert. So normally me and Squirrel Patrol are talking about DFS strategy on this show. If you want a breakdown of all the fights from people that know the fights and the fighters, well, that's Liam and Mike. And typically, this is for premium members. Typically, we really don't have much free MMA content. But because it's Freebie Friday, you get the Ground and Pound podcast absolutely free. That has been posted already not too long ago. So it's free this week. The premium breakdown. It's about an hour and a half. Typically, I listen to this typically today. I haven't even heard this yet. So typically, I listen on Fridays. But if you're a premium member, we also have the expert survey. We have Squirrel Patrol's takedowns. We have all the projections, all the ownership, but the sim outputs, right? We even have that. I don't think we don't have that up yet, right? If I can show that off a little bit. I'm not even sure. Let's see. DFS projections and let's see. Is no, we don't have that up. Yeah, the simulation tool, optimal percentages for DraftKings. I take a look at that a lot for who's more or less likely to be in the optimal lineup, and that's what we're kind of talking about. That's what we talk about, DFS strategy on this show. 13 fight card. So we're looking for what does the optimal lineup look like, more or less? I mean, that's typically what we're trying to figure out on this show. 13 fights. We look at the two biggest contextual variables when it comes to figuring out what is more likely to look like the optimal lineup. The size of the card and the spreads of the fights. Okay, size of the card, 13 fights. This is not a small card. It's not 15 fights, but 13 is fairly above average. 12 would probably be the average. 13 slightly more than average, right? So as the card gets bigger, the more and more that finishes, or at least ceiling scoring, becomes more important. And especially that's true for like the underdogs and the really high price fighters. Okay, on a 10-fight card, 11-fight card, a lot of times you can get away with a $7,200 fighter that gets you 80 points, right? Or a $9,500 fighter that gets you 108 points, because there aren't as many fights to choose from. Very similar to baseball, right? 13 game slate. Team that scores like 6 runs probably ain't going to be enough. 5 game slate, that may be fine. Okay, same thing in MMA DFS. So we have a larger size card, and also we have a lot of fights that are probably going to finish inside the distance. We have some decent ITD lines on this slate. I'd be focused a lot more on fights that are more likely to finish inside the distance versus like win equity on some of these fighters, especially in the mid range. And we'll talk about that in a second. The second contextual variable is the spreads of the fights. How big are the favorites? And this is a card where we don't have like absurdly heavy favorites. I mean, we have 6-1, 4-1, 3-1, 2-1, but like these 2-1s go down even into the 8K range. We do have some mid-range fights, so it's like run-of-the-mill type of thing. It's not. Hey, if we had tons of huge favorites, that means the optimal lineup is more likely to spend most of the salary. right? The less underdogs that are likely to win, the more likely that a 50K lineup, a 49-7 lineup, that type of lineup is going to be optimal. When the spreads are really close, when like the most expensive fighter is still only like just a 2-1 favorite, then we get these slates where you can leave 2,000 on the table, and that's almost as likely of being optimal as a lineup that spends like 50K, right? It's not that type of slate. This slate, most likely the optimal lineup is going to spend a good portion of the salary, probably for at least 49K, right? So you're probably not leaving a ton on the table. And then we got obviously the 5-round fight. We got Umar Nurmagomedov 9,200, Corey Sandhagen 7,000. Should be a very popular fight. Obviously, typically the main events are popular because of the 5 rounds. And this fight is actually most likely going to go past 3 rounds. Nurmagomedov is the favorite at 9,200. He does have wrestling in the back pocket, right? Doesn't mean he always wrestles, right? Just because the last name is Nurmagomedov doesn't mean that he wrestles, but he obviously has to wrestle decently. So if you took all the fighters that had OV at the end of the name, you're probably going to do pretty well on this slate. But Nurmagomedov at 9,200, even though his inside the distance line is plus 185, like if this is 5 rounds and it's like 49-46 or 50-45 Nurmagomedov, he probably has like 6-7 takedowns at least. So Nurmagomedov can score very well even without a finish. And he's probably going to need to do that at 9,200 anyway, because we have all these other fighters in the 9K range. And obviously Sandhagen, if Sandhagen wins the fight, I mean, it doesn't even have to be a 5-rounder, right? If Sandhagen wins in any regard, he's 7,000. He's probably going to score well enough to be optimal. So I think this is typically, you know me, if you watch this show, if the main event tends to be overowned, right? I tend to be like, I'm going to have less lineups like it. I think I'm much more likely to have, but the thing is, I think I'm much more likely to have Nurmagomedov than I am. I think Sandhagen is going to be the overowned one here. I'm not sure that many people are going to be that thrilled about playing some of these other underdogs that are really, really low, right? I mean, maybe not Yaya or Ferguson, but Mays and Olajaychuk and we'll talk about Tialulin and Vucenic. Like, I'm not sure if this is a slate where more than one guy below like 7,400 wins at all, right? So Corey Sandhagen, even in a loss, as long as he goes 5 rounds, may put up enough points. But you also have to realize that if Umar Nurmagomedov is going to win by wrestling, Corey Sandhagen is not going to have that many points. Okay. Like if this is obviously if this is a stand-up fight with not much mat work, this is a much closer. I mean, this fight shouldn't be, minus 310 Nurmagomedov plus 260 Sandhagen. This fight stays on its feet. This I would say is closer to a pick'em. So if you think the fight stays more on the feet, then Sandhagen, even in a loss, could score 70 points, right? Because he puts up a decent amount of volume. But if 3 rounds has Sandhagen on his back, I'm not sure in a loss that Sandhagen puts up enough points that I'm much more willing to just take a shot on one of these other underdogs just winning, right? Just winning their fight inside the distance, even though it's a little less likely than playing like a 30-35% on Corey Sandhagen. That's just me, right? So that's the 5-round fight. Then we got the 9K fighters. Okay, so we got Michael Chiesa at 9,500. I don't know. Caw Fernandez. I believe. Caw Fernandez. I'm just going to call him Fernandez. Gaziev at 9,100. And then Shara Magomedov, not Nurmagomedov, but just Magomedov at 9,000. And all these guys have decent inside the distance lines. Magomedov minus 135. Gaziev minus 145. Fernandez minus 170. And Chiesa has plus 110. But, I mean, this is a slate that, because they're in Abu Dhabi, you can get a lot of these like Middle Eastern and Eastern European and Dagestani, whatever area. There can be a lot of wrestling. So Chiesa's facing Tony Ferguson, who has not won a fight in like 6 years, right? Right. I don't think that's going to change. So, is Chiesa going to finish Tony Ferguson? I'm not sure about that, but can he get 10 takedowns against him or whatever? I mean, like that. That's the upside of Chiesa, right? So at 9,500, obviously he needs to put up a top 6 score in order to make the optimal. And with a lot of these, we got Dumas at plus 115 inside the distance, Mirzakhanov at plus 110 inside the distance, Joel Alvarez minus 105, even cheaper inside the distance. There's a lot of fighters that can put up a decent score, and it doesn't have to be 9,500. So I'm not sure if he's going to be 32% owned, but I mean, I don't think there's a safer. I think Chiesa is like maybe Chiesa and Fernandez. I mean, Fernandez is facing Muhammad Yahya, who probably shouldn't be in the UFC. Fernandez is like, this is only like his second fight in the UFC, so it's not like Fernandez is this like veteran or anything. Like, at least Chiesa has a track record. Fernandez really doesn't. But compared to Muhammad Yahya, Fernandez could wrestle and submit Yahya in a minute, right? Could. Chiesa's, I think Tony Ferguson, although washed, I think Ferguson could at least put up more of a fight against Chiesa than Yahya may against Fernandez. So I mean, I like both of these guys, but I mean, obviously they're gonna have to put up 110 plus points, and there are guys that can. It's just that the guys that I mentioned before, Gaziev, Magomedov, Mirzakhanov, and Alvarez, have at least people that I may want to play as underdogs, right? That's really what it comes down to. Like, I don't really want to play Tony Ferguson or Muhammad Yahya at all, but I may not mind playing a Dontel Mays against Gaziev. It's a heavyweight fight. I think Gaziev is obviously should be the favorite, but it's not like Gaziev is like, dude, Gaziev, like gassed out. He tried to fight in a 5-round fight. By round fight, that's throwing the towel. So it's not like Gaziev has a gas tank. It's not. Dontel Mays is not good, but at least he has a puncher's chance. I might well take a shot on him. Then Shara Magomedov is facing Olajaychuk, and I'm not a big fan of Olajaychuk, but he's scored he has knockouts in the UFC. Typically, it's him getting knocked out, but he could also knock other people out, right? The same thing for like Dennis Tialulian, right? I like that Tialulian, Olajaychuk, and Mays versus Gaziev, Magomedov, and Dumas, especially like Tialulian against Dumas. Like, Dumas is not good. Like, Cedricus Dumas, like, has gotten knocked out. Cedricus Dumas is, I mean, he's a 2-1 favorite in this spot against Dennis Tialulian because Tialulian isn't good either, right? These guys, like, neither of them are durable. Neither of them have gas tanks. I'm not sure about paying $8,900 for Cedricus Dumas. Although he can wrestle a bit, but Dumas really doesn't do that much, right? He's not high volume. So this is the type of fight where if it doesn't end in the first round, I don't think either of them are optimal. But I think I'm much more. I mean, I'm trying to talk myself into like not playing Umar Nurmagomedov at like super ownership in the 5-round fight, but I'm not big on playing Dumas. I think Shara Magomedov, against Olajaychuk, I don't think he does that much either. Like, Shara Magomedov basically needs a round 1 knockout to be optimal. I mean, he doesn't throw enough volume and he doesn't wrestle. I mean, he can, but he doesn't, right? So at 38% ownership that we have projected, that I'd rather take a shot on the underdog. So that's why, like, this is the main reason why I'm looking at like Chiesa, Fernandez, Nurmagomedov in the high end, because like if I play like one of these guys, if I play Tialulian, Olajaychuk, Mays, one of these guys, I could play one of Chiesa and Fernandez or Nurmagomedov, one of these three, and then mix up in the mid range because there are mid range fighters to play. Okay, so let's. I mentioned the underdogs because that's typically what Squirrel Patrol. We can even look at that, right? Squirrel Patrol's takedowns. I know I think he's on vacation. He's somewhere. He's whatever. He got the thing done. So what does Squirrel Patrol have to say about the underdogs? Okay. So my underdogs on this slate that I would play, that I think are a priority on this slate, I think are Olajaychuk and Tialulian. I don't mind. Let's see. If Mirzakhanov is going to be heavily owned, I mean, Menefield, I guess. Bedoya is probably going to be popular. I mean, Bedoya is the obvious one, right? Rolando Bedoya, because the line is kind of like flipped a little against Jai Herbert, and it's not like I really want to play Jai Herbert. Jai Herbert's 8,600, minus 140 to win, plus 275 inside the distance, and he doesn't do anything. He's not a wrestler. He needs a round one knockout if he gets that, and if not, he's dead, right? So I like Bedoya as an underdog, but I would rank my underdogs that are true underdogs. Like, I'm not talking about like an Elvis Brenner or Marlon Vera, like guys in the middle where they're these are pick'em fights that you still have to play a sub $700-$800 guy anyway. So I'd rank them like Bedoya 1, Tialulian 2. Then who? Just due to leverage, I would say Olajaychuk. And then Menefield, Vucenic. I mean, Vucenic is a newcomer, right? Against Guram Kutadaladze. Maybe Vucenic. I mean, I think it's clearly Bedoya 1, Tialulian 2. Let's see what Squirrel Patrol has. I'm not going to read it all because, this is for premium members, right? And I'm not counting Sandhagen, so he probably has Sandhagen here, right? Right. Okay. As Vucenic. Oh, he's Vucenic, Bedoya, Brenner, and Sandhagen. Okay. But he has Bedoya. So Bedoya is going to be probably the most popular outside of Sandhagen. So we're going to get Sandhagen being the most popular, then Bedoya, and then it kind of drops off. So I guess Squirrel Patrol likes Vucenic more so than Tialulian. But I think they're both fine. Okay. So let's take a look at fights to target. Right. This is a shorter show, right? When John isn't here, when Squirrel Patrol isn't here, when Mike isn't here, I get to just roll out all this type of stuff. We got the Ground and Pound podcast for free, right? So you can go check that out right after this show. Fights to target. I think obvious one is the Mirzakhanov Menefield one, obviously. I prefer the Azamat Mirzakhanov side to the Menefield side. Menefield's only, didn't Menefield get knocked out 3 months ago or something? He's back pretty quickly. But I mean, either of these guys, I mean, this fight should be a fairly short fight. So 8,700, 7,500, if it's going to be a short fight, probably ends up optimal if someone wins in the first round. So I'm into that. I think another fight to target is the Joel Alvarez, Elvis Brenner fight. And although the line is kind of moved up towards Alvarez, right? Alvarez is going to be very popular. He's minus 105 inside the distance, minus 180 to win at 8,300. If this fight ends in the first round, the winner is going to be optimal at this price. 8,300, 7,900. I don't trust either fighter, right? Obviously, Elvis Brenner is much defensively is very poor, but he's kind of like a zombie, right? Elvis Brenner, you will have to knock down multiple times in order to finish him. But that can happen. But Elvis Brenner, as a good if he actually tries to wrestle right against Joel Alvarez, I think he does have the advantage on the mat. So can this fight be a bust? Maybe if it's like 50-50, but I'm much more likely to roster this fight. And I think Elvis Brenner may be super leveraged. If Joel Alvarez ends up being like 35 to 40% owned, I'm not sure it'll be 43% owned like we have it on his projected ownership now. I think Elvis Brenner is very good leverage, right? To me, Brenner is a leverage play. I think Olajaychuk is a leverage play. That's why I like Olajaychuk more than some of the other guys in the underdog tier. So other fights to target. Let's see. We got the Alvarez Brenner fight. I think that's priority. Mirzakhanov Menefield, I guess, yes. I already said the Dumas Tialulian fight. I think that's one to target. The Gaziev Dontel Mays fight. I mean, it's a heavyweight fight. So it's one of these things that it's heavyweight, so a knockout can come at any time, or both these guys just gas out and it looks awful, right? It's the third round and they're all leaning on it. They're just leaning on each other. They're pushing against the fence and they're, breathing out of their mouths. It could be one of those types of fights, but let's see. And I mean, fight's not the target. Okay. How about on the other side? I think like right in the mid range, like I think other than the Alvarez fights, I think the Dern Godinez fight is awful. 58 per no, he's not 58. Okay, I put the ownership as 58 and 55%. No, I it's 19 and 15. That's how many that I put in the fantasy point projection in these spots. Yeah, the Dern I mean, obviously Mackenzie Dern has upside to win in submission in the first round, but that's her path to 100 points because outside of that, she doesn't do anything. Right? She takes punches more than lands punches. So, and I don't think Lupe Godinez is the one to knock her out. Right? So Lupe Godinez is like plus 1,000 inside the distance. So, like, I don't like this fight at all, Dern Godinez, although Dern does have upside. First, she wins in the first round, she'll be optimal. But it may be like a 95. She may not even have a takedown, right? She may pull guard in order to get to the ground. But it hasn't been proven all that successful in the UFC for her. So the Dern Godinez fight, not a big fan of. The Figueiredo Vera fight, I'm not interested in Figueiredo at all. If anything, I'll take a shot on Marlon Vera, but Figueiredo's plus 600 inside the distance. He doesn't have enough volume. He probably doesn't wrestle against Marlon Vera. I'm not a big fan of the fight in general. I think Vera wins. Like Vera, to me, on this slate at 7,800 is good for like if you're playing the 555, if you're playing the smaller field stuff. I think Vera could win and get 82 points, like something like that. I think that I think I'm much more likely Brenner's. I think more likely to get 100 points, or Bedoya is more likely to get 100 points. Menefield, all these other guys, they could, quickly win. Vera, Chito Vera, solid floor. I think this fight goes 3 rounds and Vera wins and gets like 80 points or something like that. What other fights not to target? I mean, I'm not a big fan of Herbert Bedoya, other than the Bedoya side. Yeah, everything else, I mean, I kind of talking about, right? The Dudakova Sam Hughes fight, not a big fan of that either. Although Dudakova didn't really look all that good her last fight, but I mean, they both could wrestle. Like Sam Hughes is not good, but like she's tough. Right, and she could wrestle. She could wrestle some. Dudakova supposedly can wrestle. She can get takedowns. So, like, if for some reason Sam Hughes doesn't show up, doesn't virtually, rhetorically doesn't show up. Dudakova does have upside, even with a plus 475 inside the distance line. But it's still not a fight that, I mean, this easily could be a split decision, and the winning fighter scores 66 points. So. Yeah, the female fights typically, me. I'm into under-owned female fights, and I'm not sure if these are the ones. Really, I'm not sure if these are the ones at all. Mr. Grapefruit in chat says not a ton of dogs to love this week compared to last week. Honestly, yeah, because the spreads of the fights are much wider this week. Rolando Bedoya or Jordan Vucenic seem to stand out the most in my eyes, and I guess Don Telmaze is always live for a KO. No, I think those are fine. The only reason I said Tia Lulin is because I don't think Cedric Dumas is good. I mean, I don't think this is that high level of a card, really, personally. I think so. I don't think Gaziev is all that great. I don't think Magomedov is all that great. I think Umar is actually kind of overrated a bit. Fernandez, this is only his second fight in the UFC. So I mean, this is not a pay-per-view card. This is an go out to the Middle East and, for the Eastern European type of cards. I don't think the skill level of this card is all that great. So, I mean, I don't mind some of these underdogs. I don't. Is Dontel Mays live for a KO? Sure, but Ola Jacek is and Tia Lulin is. I think Guram Kutataladze. I mean, he got knocked out his last fight, but I mean, he was dominating that fight. I mean, until like the third round. So, like, I think that this price may be a little off. I mean, Vucenic he's making his debut. It's short notice. But I mean, you got to pick underdogs at some point, right? I think they're all in play. I mean, Menafield obviously has a puncher's chance. He's always live for a KO. All these guys are all live for a KO. The problem is if they don't get a KO, they're not live. I mean, really, that's what it comes down to. Like you take a look at these guys, it's like they don't really score well outside of that. And if they win a decision, I'm not sure if they're going to score well enough that they'll make the optimal lineup. But I think the combined chances of like one of these guys scoring a KO, I'm willing to take a shot on one of them. If you like if you like Vucinic more than Tialulin, or you like Mays more than Olajaychuk, then go for it. That's fine. It's close enough to me. It's close enough. Okay, so I think that's a decent assessment of kind of DFS strategy based on the current projected ownership that you can get here at RotoGrinders. So sign up for RotoGrinders Premium. You get MMA, you get NFL, you get NBA when it comes back. MLB, you still get MLB, right? PGA, college football. College football is going to be back. College basketball, you get preseason NFL, right? The Hall of Fame game, we had stuff for that also. So you get all of it, right? Combo premium package. And we're running a deal now that your first month, $40 off. We just bang. Or if you want 6 months, right? Get it nice as a package, $250 off. Where it's like we're giving stuff away here. I don't know why. So check that out if you want all of our stuff here, all of our tools, all of our projections. You can use our statistical projections for betting purposes. So yeah, so use it. And if you want a little freebie today, freebie Friday preview, the Ground and Pound podcast, the UFC pod. I should be saying the Ground and Pound premium breakdown podcast, because if I just say the Ground and Pound video, like Mario Diuzi say, the people can take that the wrong way. We got a Ground and Pound video for you if you want. I mean, it's only for you have to put in your age verification for it. No, it's not a porn video. It's the Ground and Pound premium breakdown for Sandhagen versus Nurmagomedov. Tomorrow's UFC Fight Night card. Remember, it's a noon Eastern start time. So get up early. Make sure, it's not 4 o'clock and you're like, oh, okay, let me set my lineups. It's like half the card's done by that point. So it's noon tomorrow. I'm not sure if there's a crunch time tomorrow. You'll see. Hey, if there's a crunch time, it'll probably be 11 in the morning. I'm not sure because of the start time, but maybe there is. Maybe Sport Patrol. I'm not sure. I have no idea. They don't tell me these things. I don't know why. But if there's not, I'll be back next week. Right? We still got MLB to keep on going through. We got a month before like the NFL season, then this show kind of morphs into a whole bunch. October is going to be nuts. October will be, we'll do NFL, we'll do the NBA, NHL, some playoff MLB. It'll be all over the place. But for now, it's just MLB, except for Fridays for MMA. So tune in and hit that thumbs up button on your way out the door. Give me those thummy thumbs. Give me that subscribe button. Give me that notification bell to always know when we go live. Grinders Live later today, 5 p.m. Eastern, followed by Crunch Time at 6:15 or so. Get your weather update from Kevin Roth. And I'll be back, as I always am, Monday through Friday, 11 o'clock Eastern, talking about all things you're thinking about in daily fantasy, props, and pick'em on RotoGrinders Today.